morning, good afternoon, and good evening. That's our weekly meeting on Mondays. You know, Isabelle's talk show, you can't miss it. So I'm so happy because today I'm inviting a new guest you've never seen before. And my new guest is Bilitis Talagrand. And she's French, and she's based in Portugal. And today we're going to touch a different topic, and because she's an expert. But before we do, I just want to introduce my guest, Bilitis Talagrand. So after visiting over 30 countries and lived in 4 continents, oh my God, that's quite good, and so rich as well, cultures. And she's currently living in Portugal. She loves walking in nature, swimming, singing, dancing, and reading. She became a self-image coach regarding multipotentiality and high potentiality because shifting the perception of something from a weakness to a strength is one of her talents. And she's got so many as well. Too many people still suffer from feeling different instead of embracing their singularity. So by giving a new meaning to a difficulty, it can open new doors to be explored. So today, welcome Bilitis, and welcome on Isabelle's talk show. And today you're going to talk about how to identify your high potential, hypersensitivity, or multipotentiality. So welcome on Isabelle's talk show.
Wow. Thank you so much, Isabelle. What an introduction. And yes, I'm so glad to be here in your talk show, because I've reviewed as well the variety of topics you cover in your talk show, and it's really encouraging for whoever is willing to grow. And I think your talk show really contributes to that. So thank you, Isabelle, for having me here today.
Thank you.
You're most welcome. And yes, as you mentioned, today we are here really to get deeper into what does it mean to identify if we are concerned or not by high potential or hypersensitivity or multipotentialites. Really, first I wanted to share, Isabelle, my intention today for the audience. Really today my intention is for those who feel like a lag in their environment between who they are and how they are perceived, or how do they think they're perceived by their environment, and they feel like there is a difference, and they are looking for either for answers or maybe feel a bit lonely on their differences. Well, here my goal is through this talk show to bring some keys and more clarity as well, and serenity to it, and maybe as well gain some compassion as you may get to know yourself better through this talk show. And if you feel you are not concerned by today's topic, well, actually, you maybe then afterwards still have more compassion for those who may be concerned about it.
Totally agree.
And then as well, I wanted to start, Isabelle, with a bit of a story that is quite popular, I think, internationally, that would represent a bit the meaning of being concerned by high potential or hypersensitivity. It's the one of, in English, we say the story of the ugly duckling. So there's a duck that is born, and when he was born, you realize that he's not surrounded by some people similar to him. And so actually the family he was born with happened to reject him. And so he goes to try to find his tribe, and he try. And then until one point, he realized he's actually a swan. So this today is going to be a bit about the journey to be maybe feel like we are this bad duck, to then recognize actually we are a swan. And another quote as well that I appreciate from Albert Einstein that may be understood as well is, about if you teach a monkey to swim or a fish to move up into the branches of a tree, well, of course, they're considered idiots, but because they don't fit in this type of environment.
Totally true. That's true. Yeah. Yeah, they are put in a situation where actually they can't be themselves because that's not their nature.
Definitely. And as well, before moving into how to identify hypersensitivity and so on, I wanted as well to share a bit of my story, because then you can only like support others, or even in coaching, you can only coach others where you have been up to. And so on my side, for example, regarding hypersensitivity, which, to give a bit of a definition to it, it means that our brain is actually more hypersensitive in terms of emotions, in terms of the five senses. We might be more sensitive to the lighting in the room, to the noise around us. And when we receive an information, we may actually take it so personally that we don't take a step back and it bursts. we burst, actually, we may burst. And so I realized I was concerned by hypersensitivity by age 15. But at that age, it was not an age I thought, oh, that's very cool and that's a very great gift. No. I wanted to put it under the carpet. So I kind of forget about it. And it's only about a few months back that I realized it was such a gift, and how I reconnected with moments of my life that were positive and due to this hypersensitivity. This is the first thing. And then the second thing is about, I discovered more recently, about less than a year ago, thanks to one of my mentors, who said, maybe you should look into what does it mean to be a multi-potentialite. And so then, by understanding, by doing some more research, I recognized myself into this frame with who has different characteristics, and I could recognize as well the clients I was coaching at that time. So naturally, I was attracting as well multi-potentialites. So now, okay, what does it mean each in terms of high potential intellectual, hypersensitivity, multipotentialites, and how do we recognize that? What are the challenges, some challenges, and how to overcome these challenges? Is it the menu? Is it the menu of the day? Okay, let's go.
Start that journey.
Okay. So yes, some of you may have heard about like being gifted or being a genius, and the thing is, it may have a negative connotation, because we may think that either we don't want to say we are concerned about it because we may sense that others will think we feel superior to them, or others who receive the news that their sister is concerned by being gifted, and then so suddenly they think, oh yeah, she thinks that she's better than the rest. And there are other etiquettes, like it means that you are first of the class each time in all topics. So there are general truths. What I mean, there are general stories, but this doesn't mean they are true, because it's a bit more complicated than that. We cannot put an etiquette here and a box and put people into box. It doesn't work like that. So what I will share with you is actually some characteristic about each profile, and you may recognize yourself in all or not, and you may have a degree of variety. The degree may vary. This is why we call it a bit like when you mix colors together, and you mix like yellow and you mix blue and yellow to get green, but then depending the intensity, your green may be clearer or darker.
The shades
exact. And so in terms of the high intellectual potential, it's the particularity is that in general, this is recognized by doing an intellectual quotient test to be superior above 130 score, And the thing is, in overall, this score corresponds only to 2 to 3% of the population. The thing is, if you do some more research, and I was attending less than a month ago, an online congress on giftedness, and they were more or less saying that first, the test is not really relevant, except if you give a meaning to the number. It's not the number is not important, it's the meaning behind the number, because it gives you more explanation on how you work and how you process the information, for example. And it's not really accurate to be recognized high intellectual potential by this result of 130 or more, because some of us, when we do the test, there are four topics in the test. But the thing is, based on how is our intellectual quotient, it may not be the same result. It may be too far, one result too far from the other. So you cannot make an average. And it's what we call an heterogeneous intellectual quotient. So what this means is that you may have an intellectual quotient under 130 and still be concerned about the way a high intellectual potential functions, think.
Okay.
So that's why we can forget about the tests.
The test, yeah.
It's more about, if you really want to do a test to recognize it, go for it, but it does not determine your life or how you're going to write it afterwards. And it's actually recommended when you learn this type of news that you're concerned by multipotentiality or high intellectual potential, it's really recommended to not take big decision for the next 6 months. Okay. Because you may think, I'm very good, I'm so strong, I can do anything. And so then actually you like, okay, I quit my job tomorrow. And then actually it could become a mess. So except the test, how we will recognize a high intellectual potential is that he would have really like a sense of the wording in terms of vocabulary. He would have an extended vocabulary. As well, he has a capacity to learn easily and remember easily information, as well as having a large information library, and as well a great memory. I still remember when I had the chance to speak with someone who was identified high intellectual potential. We were having a discussion with his mother, and he was able to point out precise dates and events that was like historically it was coming out of the blue. So great memory, as well a different way of thinking, and they may ask as well themselves existential questions, like what is life, what is after death, for example. And they have as well what we call, it was proven by research that in terms of in the brain, it goes, the information, the flow goes faster. So that's why we can call them as well high-speed brain.
Okay, they process the information quicker.
Indeed, yes, yeah, and it's linked as well with what a French writer whose name is Christelle Petit-Colin, who wrote the book I Think Too Much. She talks about mental over efficiency. So people who think too much, who have a lot of questions, a lot of emotions. So it's a bit a mix of having this high intellectual potential and being as well hypersensitive, because here comes the emotion sides, and so if we move to hypersensitivity, in overall it concerns about 20% of the population in general. And it's not because you are hypersensitive that you are as well high intellectual potential. But however, the reverse, yes, you have, if you are high potential intellectual, there are more chance that you are concerned by hypersensitivity, or what I like to call, to take as well this expression from other professionals, high sensitive potential. And it's really to give a better meaning to being sensitive instead of being hypersensitive.
And Bilitis, can you give us an example of how a person like that would react, I don't know, in a situation, could be at work or could be in a personal...
Definitely.
Yes.
So if we focus on having this hypersensitivity side, so where our brain is more sensitive, we receive the information with more sensitivity, as we say, in terms of the five senses or in terms of emotions. So if we are at work, classic example where you have Caroline who is concerned by hypersensitivity, and she sees passing Gerald, and so then suddenly emotions side, the information arrived. Actually, what happens when this situation happens is that the information receives passes by the limbic side of her brain, so the emotional side. When actually for others, like 75% of the population, the information passes through rational side. So for her, because information passes through emotional side, suddenly she's like, oh, did I forget to do something? He's upset with me. Or like I must have not done something, and so he's upset with me. But then let's say that you have Jane, who is living the same situation as Caroline. But then this time the information arrives through the rational side. And so Jane is like, oh, well, like Gerald must be really in a rush. And that's it. She goes back to work.
And she dismisses it. Yes.
Exact. And so the thing is, it's important to talk about it because I believe it's not because we're concerned about hypersensitivities that we're going to play the role of Caroline over and over and over. No, but it's because we become more aware, then we're able to better understand the situation and to take a step back, for example. Another thing as well with people with mental over-efficiency is that they tend to speak fast. So I'll try to slow down because in my mind, it goes fast. That's why.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, obviously you need to follow your brains, right? And just talk at the same speed of the process of the information.
Yeah, but that's why I don't want to be led by my brain. I want him to follow me. So then I have to be aware that, okay, no, it's okay, let's slow down.
But is it difficult for you to slow down actually while your mind is just saying to you, hey, come on, let's go?
Well, it's
practice.
It's practice, and as well, I have a bit of notes as well with me while we're doing this interview, because if I don't have any notes, I may go off track. And this is particular with people with mental over-efficiency, or as well with being a multipotentialite, because we have what we call in English, I would say, arborescence thinking. So like a tree. And so actually, it goes a bit like this. I show you. You see the lamp behind me? So it goes and it will.
Oh,
you see, this is arborescence thinking, that like you have branches everywhere. But then the thing is, I'm not going to let the light on, because for some of you in the public, in the audience, you may be too sensitive with this light. So I'm going to turn it off. So that's how we have to be aware of our environment.
Yeah, well, definitely. Yeah, so your brain is all lit up. So and that's why
Yes.
it processes the information quickly, and then it has to come out quickly. So
Yes, and so then if we do the link with being a multipotentialite, is that so as well, the high intellectual potential can be concerned about being a multipotentialite, but the reverse is not always true. You can only be multipotentialite, and so to recognize the multipotentialite, it's someone who is very curious, who love learning, so very creative, who has the capacity to make connection between subjects, between two subjects that has nothing to do. And so he's really good as well in brainstorming when you have to create, when you have to invent something. And actually this as well is based in the brain, because there has been as well a research made that normally by age 6 or 7 years old, the child loses millions of neuronal connections.
oh wow.
But the thing is, another research that has gone through has shown that for multipotentialites, this loss of connection is much less. So then, this is why there is a development through the easiness to connect different meaning. And that's why as well, for presenting today our interview, I showed a bit of picture of a mind mapping. So it's kind of how we work as well as a multipotentialite, is that we put the idea in the center and then goes different subjects indeed, which is different from the other way of thinking, which is called sequential. So one thing after the one thing.
Yeah, separated things, separate topics.
Indeed. And as well to show that being multipotentialite is not something coming out of nowhere. It's actually it has actually been a research work made by Dr. Frederickson on being gifted, and he came up with the first definition in 1972, saying that someone being a multipotentialite actually is someone who is able to use at a great level 2 or more competencies in one circumstance. So for example, to give a nowadays example, it would be someone who is a project manager or events manager, able to at the same time address the request of the clients, but at the same time as well know how to communicate with a team on the field to implement what the clients wants, for example, or to find as well the location to organize from A to Z. And so it requires skills of communication skills, management, as well as innovation, creativity, and juggling at the same time.
Exactly. You pinched my word. I was about to say juggle things.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it must be tiring as well for them, I suppose, energy-wise, trying to process that, juggling different things at the same time. I mean, it's part of them. That's the way they function, but they must be tired at the end. I mean, at the end of the day, just processing, that information.
Yes, and that's why sometimes one of the challenge of those concerned by mental over-efficiency, so thinking too much, asking too much questions, and so on, they may be concerned about difficulty to fall asleep, for example, because the machine is always going on, indeed. Okay. And so that's why there are some recommendation, for example, for someone concerned about hypersensitivity, who may be in an environment where you should understand, Isabelle, that for someone hypersensitive, she welcomes everything that is going on around, like the noise. Like right now, there's a bit of work in my house, so there's a bit of noise, and all of this you absorb the noise, the stress around, and so that's why there is a difference between an hypersensitive person who knows when to withdraw herself to recharge, and someone who goes straight to the day because it is more efficient. So that's why it's important for hypersensitive to withdraw, take a break, end of the morning, go for a walk, after lunch, do a yoga session or yoga nidra session, deep sleep, like deep rest, non-sleep. And as well, we were talking about sleep. It's about how do you prepare yourself before sleep? Like, are you reading something that is really getting your curiosity, and so you don't really fall asleep?
You don't relax.
Or
Exactly.
You don't relax, you don't come down, you're only feeding your mind. And talking about the mind, that is another challenge for multipotentialite or high intellectual potential, is that we are too much in the mind. We are too much thinking. So that's why we need at one point to find one thing that actually make us disconnect from the mind and either go down into our heart or at least connect with our body.
Well, for me, it's nature. When I think too much, I just close the computer and just go to the park and just recharge.
And so and the nature as well is my great friend. Just before the interview, I went for a walk, 20 minutes to just recharge and relax. And as well, another challenge that may encounter the hypersensitive person is about like we saw with the duck story at the beginning, because what happened with the duck story is that he was over adapting to his environment at first to fit in. And so with the hypersensitive person, or even the high potential or multipotentialite, there is a point where, when this was not identified early on, the person may have over adapted herself. So the challenge is that if, for example, she's hypersensitive, she may have associated being too emotional equal danger. So I'm going to build a shell, cover up, indeed. And so then the challenge then, and if we're ready to reconnect with our emotions, because this is where life leads, is about, okay, what is one thing I can do today to little bit break my shell, and to start to reconnect with my needs,
my emotions,
reconnect with my emotion. What do I want myself, and not based on someone else's requests, and leading to living my own life and not someone else's life dictated for me.
Yeah, it's like reprogramming ourselves and just getting rid of things we they don't serve us and they don't belong to us, and then listen to ourselves, the emotions, and accept them and reconnect with the emotions and the body. Wow, that's a journey.
It's a journey, and another journey as well for the multipotentialite, for example. You probably have as well entrepreneurs in your audience, Isabelle. So one thing that is recurrent for multipotentialites is to be called out about, for example, the shiny object syndrome. So because the multipotentialite, being so curious, willing to be involved in so many projects, either at the same time or what we call sequential. So being involved in one project, but then like to change every 6 months or 1 year. Then the challenge is, okay, yes, I see something new, a new project, a new software, a new training, and the automatic pilot takes on, and like, okay, I go for it, I register. When actually, what about taking a step back and realize, does it fit my needs today? Is it in 5 days, 5 weeks, or 5 months that I need that? And what's interesting about the shiny object is that after reviewing an article, I saw that the shiny object was coming out of the FOMO, fear of missing out.
Yes.
And the fear of missing out was coming up from the fact that the person concerned about the shiny object didn't find his or her own vocation,
Yeah,
her one thing.
Looking for answers everywhere.
Indeed, but the thing is, this is where it becomes a bit funny, is that this is the thing. Being a multipotentialite, it's about making a reason to ourselves that we are not here for one vocation. And this is actually the name of a TED talk by Emily Wapnick, who is kind of our ambassador for the multipotentialites. And she made a TED talk where it's called Why Some of Us Don't Have One Vocation. And the second big challenge for multipotentialite is, and one that is encountered by many entrepreneurs, is the imposter syndrome.
Oh, yes, we've all been there.
Indeed. And so the thing is, so the imposter syndrome is, okay, when still we have done the work, we have studied and so on, but we don't find ourselves enough qualified to pursue this as a work competency, for example. But someone else with maybe even less learning than us will still put forward, yes, I'm capable of doing that. And so about the imposter syndrome. So first of all, how to flip that? First of all, it's not something personal. It doesn't belong to us. So it's about putting it a step further from us. And as well, it's about it's about as well developing our experience. And this will help us to reduce the feeling of the imposter syndrome. So, and if we feel like, well, what are we lacking about if we think about imposter syndrome? And then once you answer that question is, but compared to whom?
Exactly.
Because what's the point of comparing ourselves to someone who started 6 years ago or 2 years ago even?
Yeah, the experience is not the same. And I remember saying to people I was working with when I was in sales, you can't run before you walk. So take it slowly, be compassionate with yourself and learn and ask other people as well. So, for entrepreneurs, it's because we all want success nearly straight away or even yesterday. So, but sometimes we feel like a fraud because that's something new, and we feel like people will discover that we don't know, which is fine. Indeed. Because, as I said, we can't run before we walk.
Indeed, and yes, and it's about building this experience, and it's about it's about as well knowing that each time that we will find ourselves doing something new, this will pop up. But then, and here is as well one thing I recommend to go over this imposter syndrome. But then if it pop up, I really recommend you to have a bank of positive souvenirs and memories about everything that you have already accomplished, or people who give you some great reviews. It may be about work related or not, but then once you have this bank, and compared to this imposter syndrome voice coming up, it's all goes away and fade away, because you have some great memories already there, proving to you that you already done something that you never done before, but you did great.
Definitely. And it's concrete because it's coming from people from outside as well. So they recognize that in you. You've done it. That's it.
And there were two things I wanted to share, Isabelle. The first is about the 4 steps. 4 steps about this question of high potential. And then the second thing is about, okay, but why should I know about this? Why is it important? So quickly in terms of the 4 steps, it's so this comes from a book written in French by Nathalie Alstein, who is a creator of the Congress on giftedness in Belgium, and she wrote the book about I translate the title French to English: emotional and gifted. And so this frame in 4 steps, it comes with the step number 1, which is actually adaptation to normality. It is someone who doesn't know he or she is concerned about it or denies it, could be as well. And there is a non-explained lag between his environment and how he or she functions. And as well, like the point of reference is actually the regular society. The regular way of doing things is it's a society base.
Like
it doesn't have his own reference.
Yeah, the rules, basing on the rules of the society, so not on their own. Okay.
Indeed. And then the second step is actually where there is the revelation or the disclosure, where he's discovering to understand what does it mean that about hypersensitivity or high potential intellectual, and he starts to realize that he may be concerned about it. And so he needs time, he needs a space where he can be heard by someone not being judged.
Yeah.
And as well, he review his past track under a different light by having this new reading.
And it makes more sense then, suddenly.
Indeed, definitely, indeed, and that's, for me, it's really what I lived as well when I get to know about being a multipotential. I am like, okay, that's why I acted like this. That's why I'm so curious. That's why I'm easy to connect with, or to create, to innovate, for example. And as well, that's why as well I kind of went through a burnout because I was involved in too many things.
Well,
this is one of the pitfall.
Yeah, you had too many things in the pipeline and trying to do as much as possible. Yeah, I understand that.
Yes. Or as well a bit of a brown out, which means a lack of meaning into what you do. And this is particular to the multipotentialite, because to be in fire, he needs to understand why he does what he does. And then the third phase is about integration. So it's about so you start to better understand how he works. He can review his own needs, because before he was a bit disconnected to it. And he's able now as well to place limits, because beforehand he would have a tendency to over adapt. But then once he understands how he functions, he can, at least for the first time of his life, to put some limits. And finally, it's what is called the 4th step, is self-presence. So everything is fully assimilated, how it works, and actually the label of being high potential, high intellectual potential, or hypersensitive, or multipotentialite is removed, and he's aligned and move forward.
Yeah, because that must be very confusing, not understanding, trying to adapt to others, to the environment, not being, well, oneself. And there is like a gap, like a different level between who is and who is showing as well to people, because by adapting himself to the others, that must be really hard to well, that's why I suppose at one point you reach that point of burnout yourself, or some clients might just get so confused that they really need help because you're not aligned anymore. So just like a big gap, and yeah, well, that's an interesting topic, and sometimes we don't realize, and even with kids as well, we just think, oh, why is he always like that? And instead of well, sitting down with them and the kids and just try to understand what's going on, because they might not function or process the information the same way other kids do. So that must be difficult for them to fit as well, to fit in the class, in the environment, and even to learn. You know, they don't learn at the same speed because they just go, they process the information so quickly.
Yeah,
it must be hard for them as well to just fit in.
Yeah, so some of the kids may feel bored actually, and so they are perceived as a kid who may not be doing anything or who is not interested in what's going on. But actually, it may be because there is a lag between there is let's say a gap between his speed of reference and the speed of reference of the class, for example.
Definitely. And sometimes they disturb the class because, as you say, they're bored. And it's not because they just want to play or just to disturb for disturbing. It's just like they've got no interest in what's going on because it's not quick enough.
Yeah. And yes, and here is as well another topic on
you
ADHD.
can come back. You can come back.
Thank you, Isabelle. But yes, like so overall for me, my main mission is to bring from out of these 4 steps is to bring from step 1 to raise awareness, like we do today, Isabelle, on what is multipotentialite, hypersensitivity, and then to move through the different steps smoothly at everyone's level, because we don't have all the same speed to go through the different steps. But first, it goes through awareness.
Yeah.
And the last one thing I wanted to add, and this was the second thing, it was what does it bring to know about all of this? And so I have several testimonials that mention how it allowed them to be more free, to put some words on it, gain more freedom, gain more clarity. I'm not crazy. I'm not the only one, and I'm not lonely. There are others like me.
And probably feel like so liberated, as you say, free, just like I can be myself.
Yes.
So, and it's so great. It's so good because, as I said to you before, if you're not aligned with yourself, it doesn't work. You're not happy. And you're trying to please others, to adapt, as you were saying, and doesn't match with who you are. So that's fantastic. That's a great topic, and to check how to be or how to accept it and overcome the fact that we are different. That's a huge step, because the society tries to put us in boxes, right? But we're not all the same. So
indeed, we need boxes of different sizes, and at the end it may all fit for one project, one idea, and we combine all of that potential. And yes, and there was a research mentioning that putting together, partnering up someone specialist with a multipotentialite allows to create even more novelty and innovation.
Yes, well, yeah, using the best of both, you know, all
Yes.
those gifts, as you were saying, being gifted, and using all the gifts and combine and create something fantastic. So wow, Bilitis, thank you very much. Anything else you want to tell us about, apart from well, contact you directly, obviously, to get more information. Yes. And I've put the email, your LinkedIn link in the description of this live. So, Bilitis, thank you very much for coming, and come back anytime next year. And maybe talking about another topic on multipotential. And thank you very much. My next guest next week will be Wassim Adjiri, and Wassim's been on the talk show before, and he's going to talk about landing a job during a recession. So he's going to give us some tips. And obviously, if you've missed the previous talk shows, click on the YouTube channel called Phoenix Coaching and Training. You can actually click as well on that little bell, so you will get all the notifications for the new talk shows after uploading them. And thank you again, Bilitis. I wish you a nice afternoon. You're in Portugal. For me, it's the day. Oh no, evening for you, and for me, afternoon. So and audience, see you next week with Wassim. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
See you next week.